Man, the NBA playoffs are definitely entertaining. The NFL draft is later on this week, and Aaron Rodgers finally got traded. That man has finally gone off the NFC North. He's finally gone for the Green Bay Packers. No more discount double check over here. Finally is a New York Jet. Finally. So, the Jets acquire Aaron Rodgers, the number 15 pick in this year's draft, and a 5th round pick in this year's draft. The Packers receive the 13th pick in this year's draft. So basically they traded first round picks. They also receive a 2nd round pick in this year's draft, a 6th round pick in this year's draft, and also a conditional 2024 2nd round pick, so next year's 2nd round pick, which can become a 1st round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays, if I'm not mistaken, 65% of the snaps. So there you have it. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. I mean, we've been speculating this for at least a month now, month and a half. Deal is finally done. And with draft picks being the main premise of this deal, you had to figure that this deal had to get done. It had to get done before the NFL draft. Otherwise, you'd be looking at picks for the following year, which I don't think the Jets would want per se, since this team is now, basically in the hunt for a Super Bowl within the AFC. In my opinion, they are Super Bowl contenders. As long as Aaron Rodgers, doesn't turn into Mark Sanchez. What I mean is, Aaron Rodgers is known for having one of the best touchdown interception ratios in the history of football. I think it's 3.5 to 1 or 4 to 1, something like that. Lifetime. It's insane. So basically, Aaron Rodgers doesn't even have to perform MVP level that he did 2 to 3 years ago, but more so just take care of the football, make the right plays. That is it. That's it. Because they have pretty much everything else in place. Whenever Breece Hall comes back from that ACL injury, that man was a monster. Wide receiver core, you have Garrett Wilson, who's a stud. You have you signed Alan Lazard. He's pretty good. You still have Corey Davis. You signed Mecole Hardman. I mean, you have a pretty good wide receiver core. Defense, you got Quentin Williams. Still got C.J. Mosley. You have Sauce Gardner. I mean, you have a pretty good team. Pretty good coach in Robert Saleh, in my opinion, who came for the 49ers a few years ago. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, makes things very interesting. And I'm curious to see what else do they do in this year's draft with them still being able to keep a 1st round pick throughout all this. So in the AFC East, I mean, you still got Buffalo, who is, the team in that division ever since Tom Brady left the Patriots. I mean, you have the Dolphins team, who is right there, knocking on the door for like the last 3 years now. They are Tua or bust. You have the New England Patriots, who somehow, some way still finds a way to hover around 500, even with the lack of talent and depth and question marks at the quarterback position. Then you have the Jets. So within their own division, it gets a little tough. And then you have to worry about other teams outside the division, like the Cincinnati Bengals. We already know what they're about. Jacksonville is coming. Calvin Ridley is back from suspension. Of course, Kansas City is right there. Chargers are knocking on the door. And then, maybe somebody like Baltimore, depending on what happens to Lamar Jackson, or, we'll leave it at that, because everybody else is still very, very up in the air, including Cleveland here. But yeah, nevertheless, Aaron Rodgers that deal finally gets done. We ain't got to worry about it happening on draft night. Even though there are maybe a few other players that's probably prone to get traded during draft night. One, for example, is DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, there's speculation that he is not returning to Arizona. So we'll see what happens there. His teammate Budda Baker, who requested a trade not too long ago, I mean, maybe he might get dealt. And then you hear about, Derrick Henry floating out there. Even though the GM said he hasn't received any calls, but, I mean, we all know Tennessee's in rebuilding mode. There's no telling what may happen to Ryan Tannehill. Then you have Trey Lance out there for the Niners, who's been heavily speculated at getting moved. So it's still plenty of people that could still get dealt out here, probably during the NFL draft. I mean, we've seen a couple things happen last year. More importantly, the biggest one was A.J. Brown. Titans dealing him to the Eagles, and we saw what happened. The Eagles ended up in the Super Bowl with a chance to win the game. So yeah, make no mistake about it. NFL draft is Thursday. The first round is Thursday. Second and third round is Friday, and the rest of the 4 through 7 will be on Saturday. But hey, we're here. More things can happen, and definitely believe, as you know me, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Man, this is so exciting. So freaking exciting. Let's get into some basketball, right? To some NBA. Because boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Man, things are very interesting nowadays. We had two very, very interesting games last night. The Heat and the Bucks. Now, my pick to win it all is the Milwaukee Bucks, because I feel like Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the league. I feel like when healthy, like nobody can stop this man. However, what we witnessed last night from Jimmy Butler, the former Chicago Bull, the former Minnesota Timberwolves, the former Philadelphia 76er, and the current Miami Heat for the last 4 years, what we have witnessed from Jimmy Butler last night was something for the ages. I mean, this man dropped 56 in a playoff game. It's not too many people that drops 50 anything in a playoff game. That is by far the single game points franchise record for the Heat in a playoff game. And as we know, the Heat have had some great players over the years, including Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. Jimmy Butler went berserk last night, and they needed all of it in order to beat Milwaukee 119-114. This was Giannis' first game back after getting hurt in game one. And Giannis had a triple-double. And then I witnessed the Milwaukee Bucks choke the game away in the fourth quarter. Milwaukee had control of this game until the fourth quarter, even though Jimmy had 22 in the first quarter. He was a little quiet second and third, but fourth quarter he erupted again, and this is how we get to 56. But yeah, that was a game for the ages, especially for Jimmy. I always do and always will appreciate Jimmy Butler for how he approaches the game. This is a person who was homeless as a teenager, who had to fight his way to get to where he is. So he didn't have anything given to him on a silver platter or anything like that. He earned everything. He's a guy who is not the most gifted, but his work ethic is second to none. He put in the work to be the player that he is today. He did. And I witnessed that when he was a rookie with the Bulls and he played here for 4 to 5 years. I remember. Jimmy Butler was that dude here. He was that dude in Minnesota. He was definitely that dude in Philly. That was a team that should have never let him go. They chose Tobias Harris, great value J. Cole, over Jimmy Butler. Boy, oh boy. They probably would have won one by now had Jimmy still been there. But, so yeah, the Heat are up 3-1 against the Bucks. The Bucks, I don't count them out just yet, but they definitely have a steep hill to climb. But if anybody can pull it off, I mean, they can. We'll see. And And then the other game, which I didn't get a chance to see all the way, but the Lakers ended up winning against the Grizzlies 117-111 in overtime. LeBron James, I think the most eye-popping stat from him was 20 rebounds in this game. 20 boards, which along with 22 points that went along with that, and also 7 assists. So yeah, Lakers are up 3-1 in this series. It's so this series and the last series, injuries have definitely played a big part of it. Even though Ja Morant is back, but had Ja Morant probably never got hurt in the first game, then maybe the series would be 2-2. You could probably say the same thing with Milwaukee, right? But we can't change the past. It's just one of those. It is what it is. You're going to see a lot of, if everything stays constant, you're going to see a lot of interesting matchups in the second and third round that you thought you would never see entering the playoffs. And, I mean, that's the beauty of sports in a sense. Like, that's why they play the game. You can't just simulate everything. You just can't just go by chalk. You just got to let it play out because you never know what may or may not happen. So, like, you know, tonight's games, you got the Celtics and the Hawks. And DeJounte Murray got suspended for touching the ref and verbally abusing him. Yeah, that's idiotic within itself. But Celtics probably gonna end up winning the game. That series is over. Nuggets and Timberwolves tonight. Denver up 3-1. Anthony Edwards made sure they didn't get swept. And like Edwards, man, he's definitely one of my favorite younger players in the league because he has that it factor. He has that mentality. He does. When he first came in the league, I thought he was just more so about himself based on how he was interviewing. But over the past couple of years, when I actually, paid attention to him more, watched him more, watched his game develop, his post-game and pre-game interviews, like, I'm with this guy. He's legit. But Nuggets probably win the game tonight, so that series is over. Suns and Clippers, no Kawhi Leonard again for the third straight game. And, man, it's heartbreaking. I feel like this organization is snake-bitten. It feels that way for sure. Because Russell Westbrook is playing his heart out. He is. Like, he's leaving it all on the line. And I'm glad Brody has the opportunity to come to the Clippers and show that he's not done. And he's, basically when you're in a better situation, you perform better. That's just what it is in life. When you're in a better environment, your productivity becomes better. And that's what we're seeing here out of Russ and this Clippers team. And I did pick the Clippers to win this series in 7. That was before, Kawhi is done with these knee sprains. It's, man, I strongly feel like if the Clippers had been healthy, this team would win this series. This team would make a deep playoff run. We probably would see the battle of LA in the Western Conference Finals, but we're not going to get it. Because I feel like this series is over tonight. I feel like all 3 of these series ends tonight. What can you do? What can you do? Man. And then, the Knicks and the Cavs. I posted a stats the other day. Jalen Brunson's not the most explosive or the strongest, but he's him. He is him. Especially when it comes to playoff basketball. As we know, some players turn it up a notch in the playoffs. That's just what they do. James has done it historically. Jimmy Butler's another one of those guys, as we just saw. Giannis is another one. Jalen Brunson is another one. Knicks are up 3-1. I did pick the Knicks to win this series in 7. They might get it done in 6. Who knows? But I don't see the Cavs moving on. So at this point, you're probably looking at the Knicks and the Heat. And that is a nostalgic matchup for people who are around my age. Because if you grew up in the 90s, you used to see the Knicks and the Heat in the playoffs. And they used to physically fight all the time. I don't know, as a kid, for me, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fighting. I did. the competitive nature was at an all-time high. I enjoyed it. But I don't expect that to happen, but, as far as the fighting. But to see the Knicks and the Heat square off, I mean, that'll be, in my opinion, very entertaining. Two defensive style teams that kind of grit it out. That'll be, for me, it'll be an entertaining series. And then you got the Warriors and Kings, Dub Nation. I'll say this much. The Kings had two opportunities in games 3 and 4 to put this series away, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. Draymond Green was suspended game 3, and the Kings missed the golden opportunity because advanced metrics and stats have shown that the Warriors are a way better team on offense and defense when Draymond Green is playing this year. They had their opportunity. They blew it. And in game 4, of course, Steph Curry basically pulls a Chris Webber here, calls a timeout with no timeouts, and practically gives the game away to the Kings. And they blew it. And now, De'Aaron Fox has a fractured very tip of his left index finger, which he's left-handed. And he's listed as doubtful for that game on Wednesday. So I don't know what to expect from De'Aaron Fox. I don't know what to expect in general, how they're going to react. But what I do know is Warriors going to win this series. And I strongly feel the Kings are not winning another game in this series. They blew it. Momentum is a real thing. Yes, I wholeheartedly understand that the Warriors are terrible on the road this year. I think 11-34 or something like that now. But I'm not going to sit here and act like, their playoff experience and championship pedigree and this and that, doesn't apply, which it does. It does. Momentum is a real thing as well, because they have it. So good luck, Sacramento, at that point. So yeah, NBA is you cannot make a lot of this stuff up. A lot of series are 3-1. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them comes back and wins 4-3. The only team I can see that pull that off is Milwaukee, but we'll see what happens. That's why they play the games. We can make predictions all day and night, but we won't get the full story unless they go out there and play the game and we actually see it with our eyes. And we can read box scores all day and night, but unless we actually witness it, we don't know the true beauty of how things panned out and how exciting results can be. So on Thursday, we're going to get into the NFL draft because it's Thursday. Also, we'll see how the rest of these series shape out as far as the NBA playoffs as we start, pivoting to the second round here in the next couple of days. And we will take it from there. So continue to rock with your boy right here in the No Offense Radio, No Offense Network. Check me out on social media at JGoodWithSports. We're talking about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And continue to rock with your boy right here on the JGoodWithSports podcast, where you get your podcast from. So until next time, you all be good, be blessed, be safe, get that money, stay warm. Peace.